guys, it's Amanda from the Fiction Fairy, and today I'm here to give you a review. My review is on Sleep No More. It is by Aprilynne Pike, and it is going to be released on April 29th, 2014, and the publisher is Harper Teen. First off, let's talk about the cover. I didn't necessarily love the cover. First off, when I looked at it, it's something that I totally would have passed by on the shelves. I didn't particularly care for the color contrast. There was just nothing that stood out to me about it. I'm not in love with the cover at all. I did not care for the cover. I still don't care for the cover. But a cover is a cover. Like most things, I'll probably do a cover change later on. The things that I liked about this book was that it was about oracles. And I love things like oracles, Greek mythology. Those types of things just really interest me. And this book was the whole thing, so it definitely interested me in that. Some people say it is a combination of Inception, the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, and the Wake trilogy by Lisa McMann. I would cut out the Wake trilogy part. I've never read it, but I do not particularly care for Lisa McMann's writing style, so I'm not going to say it's anything like that. But the Inception part I think is absolutely true. It does have key points and elements of something like the Inception movie. The things I disliked about it were that at times it was a bit slow moving. Not so much in the pace, but just in the pulling out the details. I get that's what it's supposed to be, but just me as a reader, I was just pulling my hair out because I wanted to know what was next, what was coming up. There were a lot of things that were kind of left undone, that weren't really answered, and I wish I would have gotten answers to those questions. They just kind of glazed over it when the book was over, and that kind of left me feeling like I wish that they had kind of told me why they did that, or what that was about, or why that was even brought up, because if you're just going to glaze over it at the end, then I don't know why you brought it up to begin with. It was just kind of a fluff filler. I'm not a big person who's into kind of like fluff fillers in books. So my overall feeling for this book was that I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good book. Like I said, it's about oracles. I really liked it. The book follows a girl named Charlotte. Charlotte has been able to see certain things since she was a child. And her aunt is also a oracle. She can also see things. So when she realizes that her niece Charlotte can see things too, she wants to help her, guide her, help her hone her skill, and help her to fight off the visions that she sees. Apparently oracles are not really supposed to see the visions that they see. They want to fight them off because you don't really want to see the future, because if you see the future, then that means that you're tempted to change it. Which, when you read the book, you see that unfortunately Charlotte, the main character, at one point was tempted to change the future. It had drastic outcomes for her, and this is why her aunt takes her underneath her wing to try to help her to fight off the visions when they start to come. This book had so much mystery in it. It was kind of like, sometimes this is the point where I just want to pull my hair out with all the mystery that it had. It was, Charlotte's aunt is very elusive. She lives with Charlotte and her mother, and she stays in a room all day, and she's working on her work all day. She keeps her door locked all the time. It's just, everything is just shrouded in mystery. They give you bits and pieces of what it is that she does, but they never really delve into it. If you don't have a background of Greek mythology, then it might be a bit frustrating, because you're just like, okay, are they going to tell us what's going on? But if you have a little knowledge of oracles and Greek mythology, then you can kind of put a couple pieces together by yourself, and it makes it a little bit easier to read, which is what I found, because then you're not left in so much dark. But basically, things start happening around town. People are going missing. People are dying. Well, Charlotte, being an oracle, she starts to see these things, and she's supposed to be fighting them off. She tries to fight off the visions all the time, but it's very painful to fight off the visions. They create massive headaches. People don't even want to talk to her at school. They think she's a freak. They think she's a weird girl, because sometimes she falls to her knees, her eyes go open, and she gets these excruciating headaches while she's seeing the vision. She loses all concept of time. So if you're talking to her, she hears absolutely nothing that you say. And these happen in class, in the hallway, in the car, walking. They can happen anywhere, at any time. So her mother does not know that she's an oracle, nor does her mother know that her sister, her aunt, Charlotte's aunt, is an oracle. So they have to keep this huge secret from her mother, with whom they live with, you know, along with trying to hone Charlotte's skills with this. So the people who start dying in town, you know, are close to Charlotte, and she tries to fight off the visions, and then she decides she can't fight them off anymore. And she sees what's happening, and she knows that she shouldn't try to change the future, and she says, you know what, I'm not going to do it, you know, I don't want to, because the future has a ripple effect. You change something here to make it turn out a certain way, and it changes something over here to make it turn out a different way. So you're never just changing the one thing that you intend on changing, you're changing this entire sequence of events that happen in the future. So just because you make me not die today doesn't mean that everything turned out perfectly. Now that I'm not dead, all these other things that were supposed to happen once I died can't happen anymore. They have to happen in a different sequence, which may mean that I end up dying a week later, but I end up dying along with 50 other people who should not have died had you just let me die today like I was supposed to. So that's what she's constantly fighting, is being able to see all these horrible events happening, wanting to change the future, but knowing that she shouldn't and she can't change the future, because if she does, she doesn't know the cause and effect it's going to have later on down the line. So finally Charlotte just says, you know, forget it, I'm going to stop fighting these images, I'm just going to watch them and see them. So she starts just letting them come to her, and she starts just seeing all these visions, and as she starts to see these visions, she gets these like strange text messages from somebody saying, you don't have to fight them, you can change the future, you can help. Now mind you, her Aunt Charlotte has been helping her for years to fight them off, fight off the visions, telling her not to try to change the future, no good can come of it. You know, really making Charlotte feel like you're basically just there to fight off visions. If you happen to see them, it doesn't matter because you can't change what's going to happen. Then all of a sudden she starts getting these text messages from somebody saying you can fight, you can see what's going on, you can change the future, you can help these people from dying, I know your secret. So she's kind of like, A, who has my phone number? B, who knows that I'm an oracle? And who knows how to change the future and can show me? Because that's really what Charlotte wants to do. She wants to try to just save the world without affecting the future in a negative way. And that's really where the story goes and the story takes off. There's a lot of deception in this book. It's deception from Charlotte's aunt. It's deception from the people who come into Charlotte's life. The thing is that at the end of the book you get so frustrated because it's always like you shouldn't change the future, you shouldn't change the present right now because it will have ripple effects for the future. And it's kind of the same thing with deception. If you deceive somebody right now, it can have an adverse effect later on in the future. If I say an untruth right now that you take as a truth, it may make you make certain decisions that you otherwise would not have made that could turn out badly for you in the future. And that's kind of like what happens. The whole thing is like about rippling effects of whether it's deception, whether it's changing the future, whether it's not changing the future. Everything is a ripple effect. Everything has a cause and effect. Every, you know, action has a reaction, you know, and everything you do has a consequence, whether it's a good consequence or a bad consequence. The point of this book is that everything you do has a consequence. So whatever you're going to do, you need to stand by it and commit to it, because the consequence could be good, the consequence could be bad, but you have to be okay with what it is that you do. I thought this was an amazing kind of like psychological thriller. The world building was fantastic for it. I really was able to see inside the mind of Charlotte, see what she was seeing, go through what she was going through, feel what she was feeling, see this entire oracle world that is built. I actually could see it. So the author, Aprilynne Pike, did a terrific job on that. The concept of the story was terrific. I absolutely love the movie Inception with Leonardo DiCaprio, because the whole time you start to think, is this real? Is this not real? Did this happen? Did this not happen? Wait, what's going on here? And that's what this book is. You're constantly in a state of almost a bit of confusion because you're not quite sure, is this really happening? Is this not really happening? Hoping for the best, you know, seeing the worst, hoping for the worst, praying for the best. It's a whole amount of confusion with this book, but it was really well written. It was really well done. Like I said, the things that I did not particularly care for is that there was a lot of loose ends that were untied. I felt like they really could have explained a lot more about oracles, about the history of oracles, about what was happening, why it was happening. I just really thought that there could have been more to do with that, and that would have been more satisfying. As far as I know, this is not part of a trilogy, this is not part of duology, this is it. It's done, it's wrapped up, it's a standalone. And that is why I gave this book a 3.5 3.5 out of 5 cupcakes, guys. I could not give it a solid 4 because there was so many things. When you get to the end of the book, there's so many things that are left undone that I really, just as a personal reader, wanted to know about. And knowing that it as far as I know, is not part of a duology or a trilogy, to say, okay, well, they're going to let me know in book 2, they're going to let me know in book 3, to know this was just it, this was just done. I felt like that we could have given it an extra 50 pages and really tied up some loose ends, answered some questions, delved into a couple of more things to really make the book be excellent, not just good. So that is why I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 cupcakes. It still was a good book, even though it wasn't a solid 4. I would recommend it to those who like psychological thrillers, who love mysteries, who love Mara Dyer, which I did not particularly care for. However, I felt like this book was, as far as the psychological part and being confused and wondering, is this real, is this not real, I thought it was done much better in this book than it was done in Mara Dyer. So if you're a fan of Mara Dyer, then I would say that this is probably a book that you would want to pick up when it is released on April 29th, or if you have an arc of it, I would say go ahead and read it if you're a fan of Mara Dyer. So thank you so much, guys, for coming by the Fiction Fairy and watching my review of Sleep No More by Aprilynne Pike. If you've read it, if you want to read it, leave me comments in the comment section below, and see you guys next time.